I removed the front cover and found this. So this next one is just one of them jobs that bad luck and incredibly annoying. So quick little run through of what happened on here. We came and serviced the boiler, just a routine boiler check. First time I've done it. Back to Durotech, I think it's about 14 years old. Recharged the vessel because that was flat, all stuff like that. A few days later he rings back up the elderly customer and says, I've had to put water pressure in this morning. I was like, oh, it might just be a bit of air because I've drained it down to obviously recharge the vessel. He puts it back in. I didn't hear anything then for 2 or 3 days. He rings back again. He's done it again. I was like, how much are you putting in? He said to 1. I said, just try it up to 1.5. 2 more days later I've asked. It's happening again. So I'm here now, back out to look at it. So how I went through this in my head was, I'm going to check the charge on the vessel in case it's gone flat again. I'm going to check the PRV in case that's weeping. No known signs of any leaks anywhere. I removed the front cover and found this. As you can see, it's wet through in there. You can see a stain on the back panel. I thought, oh no, I can see a drip on the bottom of the heat exchanger. I thought, great, that's it's going to be game over for this one. And then I followed it back up and seen this. The automatic air vent. That up there is wet through. So what has actually happened is when I've drained the boiler out, recharged the vessel, filled it back up, it's obviously bled some air out of that automatic air vent, and now it won't shut off. So I've got a new one right here to refit. But all in my head I was thinking, I've inherited a paint job here, like surely the pressure was going before the service and I've just been called in for a boiler service. But in my head, deep down, I was thinking the customer's not like that. I don't think he would have done this, because even though it's the first time I've been here, he just seems a really nice guy, elderly person. No, it actually was done. It has happened since the service. Anyway, let's get this changed. So I've got a bucket, internal drain off. We'll just crack this off with the grips and aim my hose in the bucket before actually opening it up. We'll wait for that to drop to 0. Right, so I've got a spanner on the nut end. I'm going to get my grips on the top and just spin that out now. I don't think I'll be able to show you because there's nowhere to put the camera. I'm literally in the top of a cupboard. You pain. The washer is jammed in there. Oh. I don't know if to pull that clip out of there like that and pull this up and out to get, just so I can clean up that nut, because it will not move that. It's proper tight. You have to remove the clip fully to get this out and then pull the grommet with the pipe. There we go. I won't have a new one of them O-rings, so I'll have to just clean that up and grease it, but this is supposed to spin and it doesn't, so I'll have to clean all this up now. I don't think it needs a fibre washer in there though, because there is O-rings on them, but I might PTFE it, we'll see. Don't think I've got a fibre washer that size. It's like 3/8. Maybe there is a fibre washer in there. Let's go and have a look, see if I've got one, because ideally I'd put one of them back in. Well, you guessed it, I didn't have one, so we're going to put a bit of paste on this, paste on the washer. Oh my god, paste and more paste. Paste on the bottom of this. I don't think it should need this fibre washer, but it's obviously got one there. And I'm going to tighten this up out of position and drop it in from the top, straight into that O-ring. That's us back in. Make sure you put your grommet back in properly. We'll leave that open for the time being, just whilst we repressurise it back up. I hate these ones, they seem to just take forever. Drain off's back shut, by the way. That's bleeding out, which is good. Seems to be building up pressure nicely. It's actually 16 years old, this boiler. Right, let's close them off and just double check nothing's leaking what we've touched. Dry up the inside of that combustion chamber and fire up and hope for the best. So far, so good. Just put the heating on service mode to allow the air to circulate and hopefully release itself on that, and I'll shut that off before we leave. So yeah, all sorted. That one could have been so much worse, couldn't it? The pipes, flow and return, drop underneath the floor. Could have been a leak on that. Anyway, could have been the heat exchanger like I first originally thought it was. So I am glad it was only that. Thank God. Let's get on to the next one. This apparently has got a fault on it, but it wouldn't seem so at the minute. An NTC fault apparently. Nothing yet. It's fired. How strange. Typical. When I brought the tap spanner in for removing it and a new thermistor, which is now stuck inside that. Let me just check the message to see what he said was actually flashing. Now that's nice and hot. Maybe it only does it on the heating. But yes, the sensor that he said it has an issue with a flashing light was central heating thermistor, which is a dry pocket sensor, thankfully.
I've got into doing some project work, I've had some work. So is that not?
Yeah, you can try the hot water if you want. Or we'll just swap that out. That leak was from the connection to the heat exchanger. And he serviced it a couple of months ago. I advised on getting that replaced, but the house is up for sale, and anyway, it's getting worse by it. So I've repaired it before, that O-ring, and it's obviously come back to bite us in the ass. This thing just is not going to fault. It did it once and cleared itself. Unplug that off there.
Slash me head with my finger off earlier on. With the saw. Just says like there's a. Appreciate you coming, by the way.
It's alright. That's heating on. So to briefly talk you through that one, just put a little clip up here of me testing the thermistor. Couldn't film and test at the same time, but the old thermistor was reading 7,000 ohms, and off the top of my head, a thermistor at room temperature should be reading 12,500 ohms. Like I said, the one that I took out was reading 7,000, which fine, we've had the hot water running. As the thermistor heats up, the resistance lowers. So 7,000 would be about 40 degrees. That's what it's that's what the thermistor's reading, 40 degrees. However, I ran it under the cold tap for a couple of minutes, test back on, still reading 7,000 ohms. Yeah. So the thermistor itself was goosed out of tolerance. Put a new one in. Heatsink compound round it just gives the boiler a better, more accurate reading, and On to the next one. Another thermistor. That's what E50 Fault is. Even has it on here. E50 hot water thermistor, which is a wet pocket, unlike the last one, which was a dry pocket. It's the same thermistor, but just wet pocket this time. And it is here. Let's unplug that. Same spanner is what I'll use. I'll just shut off the cold water. So that onto there gives you loads of access. And underneath I have just shut off the cold stop valve and opened a hot tap. There will be a little bit of water here. Turn the power off, shall we, first? I'm just going to crack that off. Before I take that out, I'm just going to prep the new one with some PTFE and some heatsink compound, just like the last one, just in case it floods me out a little bit with water. On all one. It's just doing its preheat, that's its flashing function. We just ran the hot water, that's all. And yeah, it seems good as gold. Put a little bit more pressure in and that should be job done. So this one we've got is a Viessmann with intermittent hot water. It runs hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And if you watch what happens when I open up the hot tap, just on the display of the boiler, you'll see the issue straight away. Now these have a problem with blocked hoses. However, the hoses on this have been changed, but I will give them a little squeeze and a feel after I drain down just to see if it feels like there's any debris back in them. As you can see, look, it's jumping up in 5-degree increments down, and that water is definitely not 81 degrees. And shortly it'll lock out and then start again after it's cooled. On the front case on these, there's 2 Phillips screws just underneath the front here. You undo them, they don't come out, you just undo them off and lift the front cover up, and it's quite easy access then. For those that don't know, just like that. For those eagle-eyed viewers, have you seen the pressure? There's just one 4mm Allen key to undo there, and the right hand side actually just slots in on 2 slots. I'll show you on the new one. This is a reconned one. That's what the customer's opted for. Easy to get them the right way around. The hot and cold side of things, the bores on the pipes are miles smaller. So first we'll just shut off the cold inlet supply to the boiler and check that's off. Will that work? I do not know. Looks like it. Right, let's get it drained down now. Probably using that, to be honest. It works. Old fashioned. Get this vessel recharged. That's through here. There is a little grommet / bung in the bottom of the panel here. I'm just wondering if I take that out, whether if I do get any water inside, it'll drain out there. Can't see a drain off on this boiler whatsoever. Managed to get that drain off working a little bit better. The pressure's dropping now, as you can see. I've got my inflator on the vessel, and that's also dropping. I'm just going to crack off this screw now, even though it's still got pressure in, just to see if it's going to undo. Oh my god, that was so tight. System's empty now, and we are pumped up on the vessel. So we'll take this off, and then we'll proceed with removing the old plate. Not looking forward to this. Quick squeeze of the hose. They don't feel like they've got any debris in or any form of blockages in there. So that is a little win. Right, now we'll get the plate out properly. I'm going to get my wet back out as well, just because I do not want any water going on that display panel at the front. Now I've let a bit of air inside. By removing the plate slightly, it's just dumping out the rest of its water, so we'll wait for them two to stop. I'm going to need 2 hands just to slide out the cables out of the way so I can get that out. I'm going to remove the old washers because the new ones come with new washers, which is good. I'll have a sneak peek of what the old plate is like inside. It's very rusty. Can't really get any bits out there. I'm going to have to give it a bang. Look at the state of that. So I'm just going to put some grease on the inside of the bodies, plastic bodies, before putting the new O-rings in. Then I'm going to grease up the front of them as well with some silicone grease. And you can tell why I'm voiceovering it because of how loud the customer has the radio on in the background. New plate's in now, so we're going to shut off this drain off, shut off that hot tap. And first we'll get the cold water supply turned onto it. Some Viessmanns have a bleed point at the top of these hoses, but not this one. Not forgetting to put the bung back in to keep it the combustion chamber sealed up. Beautiful that. Close off that air vent off again. And do our 26.9 checks. And that should be another one repaired. But first, I'm just going to see if I can peel out some of this lot, this waste, and see if it's magnetic, because if it is, why is that not picking it up? That was cleaned out 2 months ago by the customer himself. So we'll just see what sort of debris that stuff is. There's our little sample. Magnetic. Why is the filter not picking that up? Let me know in the comments.